that you really need to lead in your life. There are so many inspirational women out. There are so many inspirational. The third author on this list. Full of dismindful. The seventh author I'm going to talk. The eighth woman in author. The eighth woman author that I'm going to. What? I don't. Sort of jeering early fell in love with Cecilia. More than I'm. So before we get on to this video, I just want to wish every one of the phenomenal women around the world a big happy International Women's Day, and let this be a milestone in our lives from where we can only look forward and do things that will inspire us and girls around the world. Hey guys, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. Welcome back to my channel. I had wondered what to do for International Women's Day because I really wanted to do something special, something I had not done before. Because even though I've crossed 1 year on BookTube, I have never done a recommendation video. But this video seemed like a good place to start, and I'm here with my recommendations for 12 amazing women authors that I think you should really read. Not only in this month, but sometime at least once in your life, because all of these women are simply mind-blowing. Their writing is amazing, it's inspiring, and I don't know what else to say. The way these women's minds work and the sheer collective amount of genius that this particular list has, I'm absolutely blown away, and I think that if you go ahead and give these authors a chance, you will be able to completely identify with them, learn a few lessons from them, and look up to them. So without further ado, let's get into this video and let me share with you the 12 women authors who have inspired me to no end and who I think you should read at least once in your lifetime. So you might think that I will start off this video with one of the most obvious selections of all time, that is J.K. Rowling, because I'm such a huge Harry Potter fan, but I'm not going to include her in this list because the amount of inspiration that she gives out, she deserves a completely separate video of her own, and that's what I'm going to do sometime in the future, talking about what inspires me from J.K. Rowling's writing and how she has, turned my world on its head. So the first woman author I'd like to mention today is an author who I simply admire so much because of her views on feminism and how amazingly well she puts those in her words. She is so articulate when she speaks as well as when she writes. She's such an amazing inspiration that I just want to keep reading her books. Her books, We Should All Be Feminists and Dear Ijavale or A Feminist Manifesto in 15 Suggestions, are some of the most amazing feminist literature I've ever read in my entire life. And not to say that I've read a lot, but when someone's introduction or a conscious introduction to feminist writing is like this, then there's no looking back, only looking forward to how we see the world and how the world sees feminism. I realize I haven't yet mentioned the author, but it's obvious from what I'm talking about. The author in question is Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and I love those two books so much. And even though I've had Americana for quite a while, and I even got half of A Yellow Sun recently, I haven't read Americana yet, but I hope to read it in March. And I just can't wait to get started on a book. I don't know how her fiction books are, but her non-fiction books, the two books that I was mentioning earlier, they are simply amazing, and I think everyone should read them at least once in their lives. At least once. The second author that I would like to talk about today is Jody Picoult. She is one author who takes different issues and talks about them in every one of her books. And despite them being easy to read, they pack a punch and they'll make you feel like your heart isn't there anymore. Like, she just takes your heart, rips it apart, or does whatever she wants, or just stomps on it and everything, and then she gives it back to you. And by that time you realize that you've read so much about society and the issues that plague it and plague us personally, that you don't know what to do with the remnants of your heart. Jody Picoult is like that, and I absolutely adore her style of writing, and that's something that makes me absolutely remain in awe of her. The third author on this list is Chitra Banerjee, and I don't have to say anything else, but I will talk about her because She is one author who knows how to give a mythological retelling a twist that will also make you understand the perspective of the women back then. And since our epics don't give much of a weight to women, even though they say that the women had a huge role to play in all of our epics, they were still looked down upon, and our epics still remain misogynistic to a certain level. I wouldn't say that our myths or our epics are completely, unmindful of what goes on in a woman's heart, but it's in the small things as well as a few big things. And Chitra Banerjee Devakarani knows how to take the characters' feelings and put them in a manner that will claw at you and that will make you realize that yes, the myths and the epics were not kind to women. And I'm talking only about her mythological retellings so far because I've read only The Palace of Illusions and The Forest of Enchantments, and that is what I find in those two books. But going by her writing in these two books, I'll just say, just go give Chitra Banerjee a try, and I don't think you will regret it. The fourth woman author on this list is Harper Lee, and I've only read To Kill a Mockingbird so far, and that was in December last year. And what a decision that was to read that book. I mean, that book is set in 1935, if I'm not mistaken. See, the writing of those times was not really simple. You had to navigate a lot of, subplots and complicated English as was regarded at that time. And then you get to understanding what it is all about. At least that's how I see it. But Harper Lee's writing is so fluid, so easy to read, and so sympathetic to the characters involved that I just felt like, why haven't I read this book before? It doesn't matter if I keep saying it over and over again, but Harper Lee is one author who I will always say this about. Like, why didn't I read To Kill a Mockingbird before? Because there are so many perspectives, so many chances to understand how people were back then and what the societal situation was back then, and to compare the two, to compare that society with our society today, it's unnerving to see how it was back then. And for that, I will always love Harper Lee's writing. You should read Harper Lee at least once in your life. I know I'm going to go ahead and read To Kill a Mockingbird once again. The fifth author on this list is Elizabeth Acevedo. What do I say about her? She killed it with her very first book, The Poet X. I mean, what a book that was. I listened to it on Storytel, and I think I've said this a number of times in my previous videos, and I absolutely loved it. I also did a rapid review for this book on my channel. If you want to go ahead and check that out, I'll leave a link here as well as in the description box. See, this is not a rehearsed thing. I just want to redirect you to the place where I can be seen talking passionately about that book because it's so great. Like, Elizabeth Acevedo, she is a poetry narrator herself, if that's the right term, I can't recollect. And in the manner that she narrated the book, she has all the right emotions, because she knows what she was talking about when she wrote that book. So she knows how to bring forward those emotions in words, and it was fantabulous. I can't even... This is just all I can say about that book. Even now, I can feel the goosebumps rise when I think about The Poet X. It is that good. So I'll just suggest, please go and read The Poet X or listen to it or whatever. If you read it, well and good, but if you listen to the audiobook, the experience is that much better. And I think Elizabeth Acevedo is one author who you really should go ahead and read at least once in your lifetime. The sixth woman author I'm going to talk about today is Madeline Miller. I was introduced to Madeline Miller only last year, and she has two books out in the market. One is The Song of Achilles and other is Circe. So I love both, but I love The Song of Achilles a little more because there's raw emotion in that. There's the writing in itself, like, it's not pretentious. It is simple. It's not the way that some people would like to write myths. They use some complicated words and they use some big words just to show that I'm talking about mythology. So I'll go ahead and talk the way I think gods will talk. And this is not like that. And it's really amazing how Madeline Miller has woven the story of Achilles and Patroclus and made it look so beautiful. And I feel like this book has the power to actually change something in this world if more people read it. And I think more people should read it. And Madeline Miller knows how to write emotions. It's not about writing words, it's about putting emotions on paper. And that's exactly what she's done with these two books. And that's exactly why I think that everybody should read Madeline Miller at least once in their lifetime. The seventh author I'm going to talk about today is an author who debuted last year and whose fame literally shot to the top with a reason. Her debut book, Children of Blood and Bone, was so amazing in my opinion. The cover itself was mind-blowing. And then when I got to read the inside of that book, I was blown. What a fantasy novel she's written, and in that fantasy novel she's included so much of her in them. And there's so much of honesty in there that you just want to go and give her a hug. I forgot to mention the author again, didn't I? Yeah. I'm talking about Tamia DME, and she's one of the coolest authors I've ever seen. If you follow her on Instagram, you know how her stories are, and if you don't follow, please go give her a follow because her stories are epic. She posts stories of her actually going on a workout, and she posts videos of her fangirling over rock bands. She's just so close to the reader in her own personal way. I'm not saying that it's weird that Tamia DME does all this, but it's just nice to see that an author is willing to share all her innermost thoughts with her readers. And coming to the reason why you should read Children of Blood and Bone and why you should be reading Tamia DME in general, she has only one book yet, but her sequel is coming out this December, Children of Virtue and Vengeance. And the reason why you should be reading is that, one, it is an epic fantasy novel, and two, it shows women in a light that's, I don't think it has been shown at this level before. At least that's what I think. And last but not the least, she has the power to make you feel. And that is the biggest reason why I'm such a huge fan of Tamia DME. The eighth woman author that I'm going to talk about today is Leigh Bardugo. See, I've only read one of her books, that is Wonder Woman Warbringer, which is part of the DC Icons series, and I loved it a lot. The way that one superwoman talks about another superwoman, it was amazing to see. She has a hold on language and on the storyline, the plot line, that I don't think many authors have. Her writing is easy to read, and yet it's so unpredictable, so unbelievable, and so inspiring. Like, obviously, Wonder Woman is one of the most amazing superheroes that we know. And to see Leigh Bardugo bring down that entire continuity in one book, that was something else to see. And I can't wait to start on the Grisha trilogy, of which I have two books now, Shadow and Bone and Siege and Storm, and I can't wait to dive into that world. And it's exactly because of this that I would suggest that you go ahead and read Leigh Bardugo. I'll just say that going by what Wonder Woman Warbringer was, I know that whatever she writes is epic. The ninth author on my list today is the Queen of Crime, Agatha Christie. The way she weaves her stories and the way she brings it to the conclusion that she does, there's nobody who can equal her in that. Agatha Christie, the moment you say Agatha Christie, it is like an epic crime murder mystery, and I just love her writing so much. And she was an epic woman in her real life too. She was something else, and it shows in her books, the eccentricity sometimes, and then there's the straightforwardness, and then there's the way she solves crimes. Amazing. I don't think that a bookworm will get through their life without reading at least one Agatha Christie, and for that I'm a little grateful. The 10th woman author that I want to talk about today is an author I was introduced to last year, and I read her book in March for the Femme March Fest, and the author in question is Sewell Acquire, and she is one of the most amazing writers I've come across for a long time. I did an author's interview for my blog, and she was so forthcoming, she was so sweet, that was inspirational in itself, because she is quite successful, and to have that connect with the readers and to acknowledge the readers like that, it was very heartwarming. And I've read only one of her books, and that was also second in the series, which you can also read as a standalone, by the way. The book was A Charm of Finches, and it shows a gay love story so poignantly, so amazingly well. My god, it was brilliant, and that is why I think that you should read Sewell Acquire. Just go ahead and give her books a try, and I promise you, you won't regret it. The 11th woman author that I want to talk about today is Krishna Mundawala. Her book 50 Cups of Coffee, The Woes and Throes of Finding Mr. Right was such an amazing book. I laughed my whole way through, and that is the sad part, because the reality of a woman being in her 30s and being on the dating scene is looked down upon in our Indian society. See, basically across the world, if a woman is in her 30s and is still single, people look at it with a sort of a jeering hypocrisy that I find rather like I just want to club them on the head sort of thing. Because if a man is single in his 30s, he is still eligible. He is an eligible bachelor who can get any woman he wants. But if a woman is in her 30s and is looking for a partner, then she is too old, they say. Then I don't find that fair at all. How do you, just how? And Krishna Mundawala, she puts all these things in her book in 50 Cups of Coffee, and if I'm not mistaken, it's her first book, and I loved it. It was one of my 5-star reads of last year, and I enjoyed it so much, and I just want you to go ahead and read that and let me know what you think about it. The 12th and the last woman author that I would want to talk about today is Cecilia Han. I liked P.S. I Love You. If I could even go ahead and say that I loved it, because it was a love story that was not routine. But the books that brought me closer to her, that made me a complete fan of Cecilia Han, is The Flawed Duology. Like Flawed and Perfect, these two books are so amazingly written. She talks about how our flaws can be strengths sometimes, and how we need to use them to survive, and that is something that I admire her so much for, that I simply was dumbstruck. There's no two ways about it. That was actually when I fell in love with Cecilia Han, and I just want to binge read all of her books. But yes, Cecilia Han, if you haven't read The Flawed Duology, please go ahead and read it, because it might not seem that important in the larger picture, in the bigger picture right now, but it does make very valid points, and that is why you should really go and read Cecilia Han once or twice or 4 times or 8 times, how many ever times you want. If you haven't started her books yet, then I would suggest start with Flawed Duology and not P.S. I Love You. So those were the 12 women authors that have inspired me to no end, and I just hope that someday I'll be able to write at least 5% of how they write to this day. So for now, I'll just say, wishing all of you amazing women out there a very happy International Women's Day. Let's stay strong, let's break some barriers, let's create milestones for ourselves, and on this International Women's Day, I just hope that all of you amazing, wonderful women out there get on the path to what will take you further towards success. And here's wishing you a very happy International Women's Day once again. And if you've read any of these authors, and if you would like to recommend more authors, women authors to me, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please like it and share it to spread the word. And if you like my content and would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified as and when I post new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.